On today's Domain Sherpa discussion, is Mike Mann a robot, a cyber squatter, both, or neither? We find out. Millions are being spent on new TLD auctions. We'll tell you which. Why .com might still be a better investment than all those new TLDs. We have real data for you on today's show. What new TLDs are launching this week that the Sherpas like and have put their money into, and much more. Stay tuned. I have 3 sponsor messages before we get into today's show. First, if you have a great domain name and nothing to show when people visit, you're missing out on potential advertising revenue, leads, and partnership opportunities. NicheWebsites.com can build you a site quickly with a price option to suit any need. But as their tagline says, they don't just build websites, they build businesses. NicheWebsites.com. Second, if you're buying or selling a domain name or portfolio and you want an estimate of its value, Estabot.com is the place to go. Just like you'd visit Zillow.com to get an estimate of a house value, Estabot.com provides key information about the most important statistics so you can make an informed decision based on data. Finally, whether you're buying, selling, brokering, or financing a domain name, you need an escrow company that's properly licensed, bonded, insured, and audited. That company is escrow.com, and they've been doing it since 1999. Escrow.com. It's about trust. Hey everyone, my name is Michael Cyger. I'm the publisher of DomainSherpa.com, and this is the Domain Sherpa Discussion. When news and events happen in the domain name industry and you want to hear a more in-depth discussion from multiple points of view, you turn into the Domain Sherpa Discussion. We're joined by 3 Domain Sherpas this week. From left to right, we have Adam Dicker, CEO of DNForum.com and NicheWebsites.com, the company that will help you build, rank, and update your business website. Michael Berkens, publisher of TheDomains.com, co-founder of the Right of the Dot consultancy, and founder of the domain marketplace MostWantedDomains.com. And Rick Schwartz, the Domain King, and co-founder of the Traffic Domain Industry Conference taking place this October in beautiful Miami Beach, Florida. Sign up at targetedtraffic.com. Gentlemen, welcome to this week's show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
You've probably noticed Paige Howe isn't able to make it today. We're hoping that Mike Mann, who is filling in for Paige Howe, is going to join us. If Mike Mann does join us, I will give the introduction right now. He's the founder and chairman of Grassroots.org, founder of multiple operating businesses on the Inc. 500, including Phone.com, DomainMarket.com, and SEO.com, author of the book Make Millions, and host of the Domain Masters radio show. We're hoping that he's going to join us. A special Happy New Year to everyone in the Domain Sherpa audience that's celebrating the Jewish New Year today, year 5,775. That's a lot of years. May the new year bring health, prosperity, and peace to everyone.
Oy vey.
Oy vey. All right, first up.
Is that a new GTLD?
Listen.
Well, there's an ooh. Why isn't there an oy vey?
It wouldn't be the worst one.
We have to wait for 20 years for $57.95 so we can have like a Jewish sale price. You know what I mean?
All right. I recently read on Mike Berkens' blog, TheDomains.com, who started an article about Mike Mann, who is hopefully going to join us today. The first topic for discussion is that title, the local Daily Beat website using the domain name hack technically, spelled technical.ly, wrote about Mike Mann in their DC beat. The title was Meet Mike Mann, DC's pioneering domain squatter. Do you guys take offense to being called domain squatters today's day and age? Why are you shaking your head no, Adam?
No, because listen, I mean, when somebody calls you domain squatter, all it means is they weren't smart enough to get into domains back in the early days when we did. I don't look at it. I mean, they can call us that, but I don't believe we're actually squatting.
What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I don't. I think it's an improper term. So, I mean, I think it's not accurately reflecting of what Mike Mann does, or what Rick does, what I do. I mean, or Adam does. I mean, there are, squatters are squatters, and it's defined, and it relates to cyber squatting, which is also defined, which we don't engage in. So yeah, I do take offense to it, and I think it's ignorance part, and it's still part of our job, non-domain investors, as to the difference between domain investing, cyber squatting, legal activity, and illegal activity. So yeah, it's offensive, I think.
Yeah. What do you think, Rick? Offensive?
Well, I'd probably get in trouble for this, but it's kind of like the N word for our industry. I mean, it's offensive. It's not true. You have so many legitimate companies today in the space that weren't. When we started out, there was no GoDaddy, there was no Google. I mean, these huge companies that are around now were non-existent, and they've given what we do validity, which we didn't need validity to begin with because we always had it, because if we're cyber squatters, then Donald Trump is a land squatter, and everyone that owns more than one piece of land in the world is a land squatter. So it just doesn't hold water, and like Adam says, it is a jealousy thing, and it is a way to put you down, and that's why I say it's like the N-word, because of the intent of what they're doing and how they're using it. And, like I said, I may take some flack from that, because obviously it's not the same, but it's just, how would we react? I mean, words have a lot of power, and they're hurtful at times, and if they want to hurt you, that's how they do it. But it doesn't matter, because we're living because we saw something before most of the rest of the world saw it, and we get rewarded for it. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. That's what capitalism is about. That's why we enjoy a good life, because we enjoy capitalism, and that's it. That's the name of the game. We play the game well.
Yeah. And in addition to all three of your thoughts, I will chime in from a journalism standpoint. Much like Mike Berkens' point that it's legally not a correct term, I would say journalistically, it's actually bad journalism. You're using a word improperly. Words have meaning. You're using the wrong word for the wrong meaning. Shame on you to the author of that article, and shame on you technically for allowing that content to go out without being fact-checked.
But they did it in Forbes. They did it in Forbes last year, right?
Yep, they did it in Forbes, and I should have brought it up so we could have shamed them as well. All right, moving along. Next up, there's a lot of commotion about new TLD auctions. Andrew Alleman over at Domain Name Wire wrote an article this morning entitled "Mind and Machines Numbers Show New TLD Auctions Are Getting Out of Control." In this article, he made some assumptions and concluded that highly contested new TLD auctions are likely ending around $10 million. $10 million to operate a registry for some of these new top-level domains. Mind and Machines won .law and .vip, but lost 5 auctions, as Andrew noted. They lost Design, Flowers, Group, Real Estate, and Video. It's net cash inflow from the losses after paying for the wins that they got, the .law and .vip. The net cash inflow was $6.2 million, not including registration fees that they paid for their applications and overhead expenses. Mike Berkens, was the smart money in this round of new TLDs putting in applications on the most highly desired TLDs and in hopes of being paid off later?
Well, I mean, back before the application period closed, this concept of having a private auction wasn't really, I mean, some of the applicants may have thought about it, but it wasn't verbalized. And I think when you applied knowing that at the end of the day, worst comes to worst, you could be in an ICANN auction where, ICANN gets the winnings and the losers get nothing. And you could be up against, Google or Amazon or a number of who you didn't know. You applied in the blind. So obviously next time around, now that we've been through, a period, now people know that this private auction thing is very prevalent. So in that case, yes. Before the first application period closed, no. But I do, I would disagree with Andrew's whole column. We can get back to that after.
Yeah. All right. What do you think, Rick?
Well, I mean, I look at it, it is kind of interesting, and I read Michael's column, I think, about Mind and Machines. I think, what was it, 6.2 million they took in for a couple of the auctions?
6.2.
And you know what? I think that's the highlight of their business, to be honest with you. I think that's the single best day they're ever going to have, given the numbers that I've seen. So, I mean, it's like, well, look, you make money, you have it, even if you back into it, So, but it is an interesting turn of events, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so as well.
I don't think it is a turn of I don't think it is a turn of events, though, because if you read some of my columns from a post from years ago, we talked about conversations and conferences and sessions I sat in on, and people predicted strings would sell for 10, 20, 30, even $50 million. So .law in particular, since that is the subject of the column. 4 years ago, I sat with somebody and I gave them a range of where I thought it would sell for, and this fell within the range of exactly where I said it would sell for. So I don't think, it's not a number to me that we could argue whether it's a good business investment, whether it's going to get paid back, whether it's a good, decision. That's a different discussion. But, 4 years ago, it's kind of where I thought it would be. And I think .web is going to be 40 million or more, probably 50 million or more. And so, yeah, I don't think it's spiraling to some unforeseen, obscene number. I think it was very foreseen, the numbers that stuff is selling for right now. Now, again, whether it's a good business decision or not, that's a different discussion.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you: was it private? Was it anticipated that it would be all private auctions, or I just figured that ICANN is running the whole show, that they would be running the auctions as well. So it kind of became a quasi business by itself, it seems.
Yeah, I agree. I think before people applied and put the $185,000 in, I don't think they did it knowing that there would be private auctions where there would be winners and the losers would get the winning share. That I think came sort of about after. So maybe there were some people smart enough to see it, or just thought that, hey, somebody will buy me out just to get rid of me at some point. But this whole private auction scenario really came about after the period was closed to apply.
Yeah, good point, Mike. Hey, Amazon.com, the behemoth retailer, paid $4.6 million to win the rights to the .buy, B-U-Y, top-level domain. But that wasn't the most expensive TLD auction on Wednesday. .tech, T-E-C-H, sold for $6.76 million to .tech LLC. Until I hear otherwise, .tech is going to be just like most other TLDs with no advertising, promotion, or use. But what's interesting to me is that Amazon is buying the rights to .buy. Rick Schwartz, do you think Amazon could throw their weight behind .buy and be the TLD savior that we've all been looking for? Somebody to actually do promotion?
It can always happen. I mean, that's the whole thing. That's why that's why my attitude is just kind of a sit back and wait and see what kind of developer the money. Now it's just so early in the game that you just don't know how anyone's going to use it, how much money is going to go there, how effective it's going to be, how meaningful it's going to be, and lastly, whether the public will actually adapt to it, regardless if anyone huge backs it or not. Because if the public doesn't go along with the program, you know what? They've been trying to reinvent the hula hoop now for, 60 some odd years? They haven't done a very good job. Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, and just because it's Amazon doesn't mean that they'll necessarily change the general population's mind. They did a great job changing people from paper to a Kindle, but good luck with their phone. When they're entering a market 10 years too late, and, it might be the case with .buy as well.
Right.
Speaking of 10 minutes too late.
Speaking of, welcome Mike Mann to the show. Joining us from your car.
Thank you. I just got the invite I just got the invite link a second ago.
You're in your car. What is that?
He's undercover.
Well, I don't have my normal setup here. I'm out of town.
All right, I appreciate that. If you could tilt your phone down just a little bit so we get more of your head towards the top of the screen. The way we're set up on Google Hangouts, we're recording with a bunch of faces on the bottom.
Mike, you on the lamb?
He's on the run.
I'm on the run.
Well,
All right.
welcome, Mike. We've already introduced you, so when you did join, we'd have you. And our first topic of the day was the fact that Technically wrote an article primarily about you, calling you a cyber squatter. Everybody chimed in already saying...
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
So
No, that was really annoying.
Clearly you gave them the interview, and you don't know what the title of the article is going to be until the article comes out. What was your response when you read that?
Well, I was actually pissed off because during the interview, I said to them, I changed the idea where before I came to the marketplace, they used to call us all cyber squatters, and then I turned it into more, with others here included, I turned it into a more legitimate business where we weren't trading in trademarks, where we had employees, we paid taxes, we took e-commerce payments online and turned it into a legitimate business, and we changed the expression to domain investing and domain speculation, and it was no longer called cyber squatting. And then she decided to leverage the term cyber squatting for some kind of nefarious purpose,
or some sort of buzz, or retweets, or whatever they do. And I called her a bad journalist using improper terms in her article before you joined us after we discussed this. Did you actually email her back or call her back and let her know that you were unsatisfied with the title of the article?
No, because it was too late. She's not going to change it, is she?
I don't know. Legally, it has a legal definition. She's using the word improperly. I don't know.
I have no problem contacting her back. I just you guys know I can be very aggressive, so I try not to. I'm trying to just
squatter.
You're trying to minimize the number of cease and desist that people give to you. I understand.
Well, wait a second. I own ceaseanddesist.com, so I think that's an infringement on your part, so I'd be careful, pal.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't want her to write the next article about what a jerk Mike Mann is and how aggressive he is. And
Mike Berkens, I see that you've gone incognito.
I think that one's already been written by somebody else, Michael.
Yeah, a couple times.
I'm going incognito.
Hey, Mike Mann, I also want to ask you about the article. Let's see here. They wrote in the article, Mike Mann's secret is that he's a human robot. He can browse through tens of thousands of domain names and buy hundreds every day. Did they get that right, Mike?
I'm not a robot, but I can go through tens of thousands at a breakneck speed, and I can certainly buy hundreds a day.
Wow. How long does it take you to get through, say, 10,000 domain names and determine what has value from, the rest of them?
Well, what it is, it's a filtering process. I can read through 10,000 extremely fast, and then I create candidates. And then with the candidates, that takes more time to do research on Google and then look at the other domain statistics. But, I'm an extremely fast reader, especially with domain names, and so like a survival skill. I mean, although, Schwartz and Berkens and probably Dicker have done this as well. I could have done more hours of that particular thing than anyone.
Yeah, and in all the years that you've been buying and selling domain names, you've probably logged your expert 10,000 hours that people say requires you to, sort of build the memory muscle to really know what's good from the rest. Mike Berkens, you look at a lot of domain names every day as well. How many do you think you go through per day?
I mean, if I have time to go through a drop list, I try to do like 3 days at a time. So, I don't know, 100,000 names, go through a drop list in 5-6 hours.
Wow.
3 days and be done with it. I mean, at this point, I used to go, back in the day, I'd, go through them all day, every day, the whole day. But, I'm not at that point anymore in my life.
You've got too many domain names now. Now you're just waiting.
Yeah, it's it's a question of how much time you want to dedicate to it. But, I think you can, though. I think there is, a point to be made that there's a number of people in the world that could go through a list, however long it may be, in whatever amount of time, and pick out, good stuff, and not pick out crap stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's just everybody can do it, obviously. I think it's a talent, you know. It's like, as I've made the example, everybody that plays baseball wants to be Derek Jeter, but not everybody's going to be Derek Jeter. So that's not horrible, but I mean, there's plenty of other players who make a lot of money not be Derek Jeter. So,
right.
So there you go.
I think the main point there, Mike, is Cyger, is we all have tools that we use to take those 60,000 and filter them down to niches or certain types of domains we like to buy, and it makes it a lot easier to create those candidates, as Mike Mann said.
Exactly. Everybody's got their core competencies. I was just pointing out that I believe Mike Mann probably looks at the entire universe and wants to review as many domain names as possible. It's everybody focuses on something slightly different in investing. That's what makes it fun to learn about. Next
I'll tell you,
yeah,
if I could make one comment, is most of us here would probably discover very similar candidate domain names to the extent they want to read through the lists.
Mm-hmm.
It might be more difficult figuring out what a fair market price is and what your competition might be bidding for it if it's so good that it's in an auction, for example.
Sure. Yeah, good
point. I mean, back in the day, when we all were very involved doing it. I mean, I many times a day found myself in an auction against Mike and against Frank and the Ham brothers and the usual suspects who all sort of found the same names, back ordered them, and then were in the auction process. So, not everybody did the drop game, but those who did, I mean, these are the people I ran into to buy domains. When used was, and then Mike Mann and certainly Frank and Kevin Ham, and then a few other people. Like day after day, auction after auction, and then it becomes a valuation issue.
You guys can see my purchase price when I make a sale. When I make a big sale, I put it on Facebook and I put my purchase price. So, I'm just trying to cause a stir ultimately, but you can see I sold xy.com domain, whatever it happens to be, for $20,000. Then I I purchased it for $120 on such and such a date. And then, I'm trying to get Berkens and whoever else to wish they bid $130.
and I do like seeing those, and I just noticed Mike posted, you don't post all the time, Mike Berkens, but every once in a while you do, and you just posted a 3-word domain name for what I can't remember the domain, but it was like $18,880 or something. What domain was that?
I have to look myself.
Shoot It Up, or...
Yeah, I'm really bad with that.
It was something like that. I need you to post what your purchase price was and in what year, Mike Berkens.
Yeah, I don't really do that just because I don't want to take the time to go research it, to be honest. But go with Most Wanted Domains. We have a Facebook page, and that's where we post the sales that we do.
All right.
And yeah.
Next up, Central Nick, the registry operator for a lot of top-level domains, especially country codes. It invested $1.6 million in the .tickets TLD. Winner, Accent Media, valuing the TLD at $13.5 million. It's no surprise to those in the know. When I interviewed Ben Crawford on Domain Sherpa, he mentioned that they had a war chest of cash from going public, and they were looking for long-term investments that would strengthen their company. Mike Mann, do you think that Central Nick's investment in .tickets is just irrational exuberance or a smart long-term registry operator play because Central Nick guarantees that they'll be the operator for that domain for some period of time?
It's irrational exuberance.
Why so?
Well, I mean, in order to make it work, they'd have to create a lot of marketing on top of it, a good management structure, and spend a lot of additional money. And if they're going to do that, they didn't really need that domain .tickets. They could do that on top of virtually any extension, maybe .tix or .concert, .any, there's a whole variety of things they could have paid less for, where if it was going to be successful, they would still have to spend the time and the money, the marketing, the management in order to make it successful. So it's not like that name is exclusively the only one that could be successful.
Yeah.
Well, that's. I mean, I told Michael I really can't comment really on this specific string because I have some information on NDAs and such. But basically, I would say that Central Nick though isn't in that business. They're not in the business of buying a such and such name, developing it out, and then making money as an e-commerce site or making money in the traditional sense of running a site. That's not their business model.
They're in the business of running the top-level domain back end, which means that somebody tells them who to point the domain at, and they point it there, and maybe they transact the money and share it, or maybe the financial portion's done by the registry operator.
So it sounds like they don't know what they're doing ultimately. And again, what about the singular? What about .ticket? What about the singular? Did they get that one?
Nobody applied for it.
Nobody applied for .ticket in this round. Is
okay,
.ticket
so
better than
again,
.ticket?
is somebody going to dilute them massively and get .ticket for a tiny fraction of the cost of .tickets? Then again, I would have gone with .tix. That sounds pretty cool and trendy.
No, nobody applied for that either. So everybody applied in a blind when this GTLD thing started.
Right.
You didn't know what anybody else was going to apply for. You applied in a blind. The thing closed, then you found out what everybody applied for, and now you probably won't get to apply again for 3-4 years, at least.
At least.
So,
well, I personally think they made a mistake.
But you have to understand the business they're in. You can't shove VeriSign into the business of selling .com registrations into the business of developing websites. That's not the business they're in.
Right, but if I had $1.6 million to invest in a top-level domain to guarantee that it was going to run on my back-end system, might there have been a better TLD to invest in, one that got more registrations?
That's a different question. I'm not going to get into that one.
Clearly, you can't talk about it.
I just wanted to point out that CentralNIC is in a certain type of business.
Yep.
And you can't take Ford and say, well, instead of making these 50 cars, you could have done built a building in Midtown Manhattan instead. It's not business.
Well, I mean, did they announce what they were planning on doing with it?
I don't think they're not the operator. They're a back-end provider like VeriSign's a back-end provider. They're in the business of selling domain registrations.
Right. So all they're going to do is sell registrations from that name. Nothing. That
They're not the operator. They're just the back end. Like VeriSign's a back end provider.
Who is the operator?
The company that won the string and the auction.
And I can't remember.
These guys just
I can't remember who that is. Oh, Ascent Media Limited.
Well, maybe there's a quid pro quo where Ascent's going to do other business with them.
Maybe, yeah, and that wasn't in the press release. Actually, it's ACCENT. I guess it could be Accent. Mike Berkens, is it Accent or Ascent Media? Do you know?
I would say Accent.
Accent Media Limited.
Does it matter?
No.
I guess that's one of those domains or company names that's potentially difficult to pass the radio test. Adam, what were you going to say?
No, I'm out of this. I mean, I don't think it's such a bad. I mean, depending if they have a reason for it, they must know why they're going to spend the money. But as Mike Mann said, there's lots of other domains they could have used. So clearly, like this extension, I mean, they could do football tickets, and they could do everything, all the teams in front of it. Right. Who knows what they have in mind for every sport or every event?
Yeah. All right, only time will tell. Next up, the domain name brokerage firm Igloo.com has acquired Aftermarket.com from Thought Convergence. Those in the in the industry know about all these companies. Perhaps it makes sense that because Igloo recently inked a deal to sell the Rook Media domain names it acquired from Domain Sponsor a few months ago. Adam Dicker, was Igloo smart to purchase Aftermarket.com to give them additional reach and functionality that they need to sell all these domain names that they have under contract to sell?
So what I heard, to clarify, was that they purchased the technology from Aftermarket to run their own auction platform or sales platform. They didn't purchase the actual domain name.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Did you hear that also, Mike Berkens?
I've heard it. Yes, I heard it. The press release read as they purchased Aftermarket.com, and I've heard after that maybe they didn't purchase the actual domain, but they purchased the technology Haven't really got confirmation on it, but
Yeah, it's
that
interesting.
seems to be more the case, I think.
Yeah, and I
Probably,
can't remember where I read that Thought Convergence paid $125,000 in the past multiple years ago to purchase the aftermarket.com domain name. I got on a Skype chat with Amar Kuba just a couple days ago asking him for comment, and he said he was under NDA and couldn't reveal any more information. But he didn't clarify to me that it was just the technology and not the domain name.
He told me he was going to sell the domain, so that implies they didn't buy the domain.
Okay. All right. So Igloo.com needs some additional ways to sell lots of domain names. They're not just specializing on 10 or 20 or 30 domain names. Now they potentially have hundreds, tens of thousands of domain names to sell.
Hundreds.
Do they need a technology like that, Adam, or are there other technologies that are out there that exist? What's your opinion?
I mean, I don't know what they paid for it. I'm assuming they paid a fair bit. To me, there are other technologies they could have utilized, but I don't know what the arrangement is. I don't know if any cash even changed hands. I don't know what happened.
Again, that's the thing, is I'm betting they paid very little for it, so it's more of a press release and a way for Amar to get out of that business. I'm just guessing. I really have no idea, but you know, I don't know that it had a ton of revenue.
I mean, they could have gone to Mike and said, look, we want to buy your back end. They could have gone to Paige. They could have gone to anybody.
Right, and there are a lot of new back ends that are being developed every year. I think that you helped work on one of the marketplace technologies just recently, Adam.
Exactly, and they could have easily gotten that if they just wanted technology to use for $100 a year.
But oftentimes you buy, you know, a marketplace because it has inbound links, because it has a great domain name that's memorable, it has a brand, and if they didn't buy the aftermarket.com domain name with it, they lose all of that benefit.
Well, while aftermarket's a good domain name, to me it's not specific enough. Domainers may know what it is, but I don't know if, I mean, there's a car aftermarket, there's all kinds of aftermarket products, so the domain is probably better used and worth more if it's not used on domains.
Good point.
Right, and my company is, again, Domain Market, and they could have been Domain Aftermarket, presumably, but keep in mind, you know, after Nick is the thing they were copying in the first place.
I didn't realize aftermarket came after Nick.
Yeah, after Nick was very successful. After Nick's been around forever, way before Buy Domains even bought it, and then GoDaddy bought it from Buy Domains. After Nick was an invention, I think Network Solutions even bought it before that. It's like something that's been passed around for endless years.
Aftermarket was bought at a domain conference. I don't know if it was Traffic or overseas. The domain sponsor.
We have to get the Collins brothers in here for more details.
Yeah.
All right. Next up,
yeah.
Quick break from 3 sponsors of today's show. First, are you tired of being upsold and cross-sold when you buy or renew a domain? Then try the newest registrar being built from the ground up with a beautiful interface, competitive pricing, and 24/7 support. Uniregistry.com will surprise and delight you. The right domain can change your life. Uniregistry.com. Second, investing in Chinese domains is crazy hard without expert native language advice. Now, as a service to the Western domainer community, TLD Registry offers ChineseLandRush.com. Using ChineseLandRush.com will help you invest in Chinese domains with confidence and without knowing a word of Chinese. Finally, MediaOptions is a boutique domain brokerage firm that gets results. They've specialized in helping companies acquire and sell high-value domain names since 2005, with a client list ranging from funded startups to Fortune 500 corporations. Visit MediaOptions.com to learn more. As reported by Mike Berkens at The Domains, it appears that ICANN won't be accepting applications for the next round of new GTLDs until the mid-2018 time period at the earliest. Mike Berkens, you wrote that you thought that was an aggressive timeline to try and open it up in mid-2018. Why is that?
Well, I mean, 2018 is mine, just to be clear. I mean, ICANN didn't say it was 2018. What they laid out was all the things that had to happen before they'd open up the time period. Mm-hmm. And, based on reading through the 27-page most recent document, and based on the history of the GTLD program and ICANN and what I know from it, I think 2018, is probably about the right time at best although some will say it could happen in 16 or 17.
Yeah.
So it's just that you have everything that you had before. There's lots of issues, if you read through the report, there's just a ton of studies and reports and committees that have to weigh in. There's still collision issues, apparently, according to I read Domain Insight.
Mm-hmm.
There's companies and people complaining about domain collision right now. You also have to now take into account that just like all of us domain owners of .coms that weren't that thrilled about new GTLDs coming in, you're now going to have all of those people plus all of the new GTLD people. So, is Donuts going to be like really enthusiastic, to see another period open up, or any new GTLD owner? Are they going to be, enthusiastically backing a new time frame? Probably not. So, 2018, that's my deal. It's my prediction.
Yeah.
At best.
Yeah.
Some will say earlier.
Does anyone on the panel think that when they do open up the next round of GTLDs, that it will be a good investment instead of individual domain names for certain investors to pool together and put in their own applications to run TLDs? So not speaking from an investment, individual domain name investment, but running a registry. Does anybody think that's a good investment for the future? Adam?
Yeah, I do. I've got a couple that I know will be good and winners, and I definitely want those two regardless. And I'm not thinking about private auctions. I'm thinking about running them myself.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
I think, you'll have this period of time to see what has worked and what hasn't worked in the current round, so there'll be more informed investing at that point.
Yeah, definitely. Mike Mann, are you thinking potentially you might throw your hat into the new TLD ring as well in a few years?
Nope. I'm going to stay with .com. I'm having a hard time selling my fabulous collection of .net and .org. I don't want to go further down the food chain. I want to go up the food chain to the flight of quality and focus on the world's best .coms that I know will always have value. The value may fluctuate, but they'll never be worth zero.
Well, you just made Rick happy.
And that brings us to our next topic that I want to dive down a little bit deeper. Mike Berkens also wrote an article at The Domains putting the new GTLDs into perspective.
I write too much, I think.
It's all about you, Mike Berkens. In the article, you wrote, quote, the net growth of .com over the past month is over 400,000 domains, which is, of course, more than all the new GTLD registrations combined in the same time frame. End quote. Kevin Murphy over at DomainInsight.com noted that .com has added over 1 million domain names to its zone over the past 90 days. Mike Mann, you just stated that .com is what you're going for long term. It's your investment strategy. You're in it for the long haul. For all the attention that the new TLDs are getting on domaining.com in the mainstream press, it appears that the real data shows that .com is still the strongest, that still has the strongest growth.
Absolutely. Again, it's this flight to quality. All these additional extensions constantly dilute each other and confuse potential investors and potential branding experts. And let's pretend some of the new TLDs are successful, and let's pretend a bunch of the domains underneath the new TLDs are successful. That any of those that become successful will just make the .com registrations that are matches for those more and more valuable. So again, the .com is a sure thing. The other ones are all risky. Any of the risky ones that become successful, therefore, increase the value of the .com that's a match. So it still always points to the .com. And the more confusion and the more failures there is, again, there'll just be this flight to quality to .com. And we are hearing about this huge number of new .com registrations, which is very interesting. It's not clear if those are being used for businesses or for speculative purposes predominantly. But, I would say, there's still just, 3 or 4 million that have cash value that'll fluctuate. So as of today, there's 3 or 4 million .coms that are worth more than their registration value. And for the most part, that's all there will ever be. There's not going to be a bunch of new registrations that have new value, whether it's in .com or another TLD. It's the best ones for the most part, not entirely, but for the most part, the very best domains that have a cash value have already been registered and they're in the marketplace. They're either being used for an existing web experience or they're for sale from one of us. And again, some of the ones we have for sale might not even have value, so that's where the fluctuation is. Again, there's 4 million that have a theoretical resale value, but maybe a million of those really are worth zero and we just don't know it.
Hey, Mike Berkens, I see you sort of shaking your head like maybe you agree, maybe you disagree.
Yeah.
What do you think about what Mike Mann said, that there's only 3 or 4 million domain names that have value and the rest don't?
Yeah, I think that's way too low. I mean, there's certainly, I just think that's way too low. So, I look at the numbers every day. I look at the numbers and have looked at the numbers. And, I still call it like it is, despite what anybody might think. So if you look at like .com, just, for yesterday, so .com is different than new GTLDs because new GTLDs haven't reached a renewal period. So there's no deletions, there's only additions because none of them are old enough to have any deletions. So if you look at .com, so they had, like yesterday, for example, they had a net gain of 30,000. Which means 30,000 when you take the registrations minus the deletions, 30,000 domains at the end of the day existed in addition to what existed the day before. If you look at the real number, there's about 115,000 new .coms registered yesterday. There are about 85,000 that went bye-bye. Now, of course, some of those 85,000 got snapped up right away. It drops.
Right.
Names that Mike and I and the people who play the drop game. I don't think really Rick plays the drop game too much. But there's a segment of names that as soon as they'll drop, they'll be re-registered. So that's sort of included in that. But I'm watching this number for .com, and honestly, it's getting that net gain loss number is getting stronger, and it's it's pretty in that 30,000 per day range, and we're almost up to 114,500,000 domains.
But,
so it's
I think
better.
I think I should just clarify my opinion a little bit. I mean, I'm saying ones that are worth more than a few $100s, for example. And I guess, there's probably millions and millions of websites that have value, that have a domain. So I would say, and this is just my guess, but I'm talking about ones for sale in the secondary market that are for sale currently over $1,000. I just look at myself and my competitors who have a few 100,000 here, a few 100,000 there, and a lot of them don't have any value. So my guess is, again, 4 or 5 million that are currently on the secondary market that will always have perpetual trading value. The trading value will fluctuate up and down, but registrations to me doesn't signify that it has a premium resale value. It just means somebody's speculating at an extremely low end, and the vast majority of those will be worth nothing.
I still think the number is much bigger for perpetual. I mean, perpetual is it's a subjective word. I don't know if that means next year, next 5 years, next 20 years. I don't know, but I mean today, as we sit today, I think I have 114.5 million domains. There's more than a few million that have value. So the name them, by the way, Michael, I looked it up. StepOnUp.com.
StepOnUp.
Is the name that we sold for 19,000. A lot of people would look on that and say it has no value at all. So
Not me.
Mike has a lot of those kinds of names, those call to action. Again, Mike and I, we're in ways very different people, but if we can go through a list, at the end of the day, I bet we have a pretty similar list of names that we would pick out of a list. So, but a lot of people wouldn't see those names for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Well, again, I would see them on a list and then research. So most people just make a snap judgment. Oh, that's not worth anything. That would definitely be one of my candidate names, and then I would study the data to figure out what its true value might be.
So in that news piece where it had talked about you registering something like 14,000 domain names in a 24-hour period, Mike Mann, Were those domain names that you identified from a list and then you did your own research secondarily and then you registered them all in bulk?
I mean, that's based on this CNET article. And what happened is, a couple years ago, I posted on Facebook, hey, I just registered 14,000 names today in a 24-hour period. But I explained it in the article, again, it's just a case of sensationalizing. The only thing that happened was I was taking my 500 candidate names a day, or my 500 selections a day, and I allowed it to build up for like a month, and then I turned the robot on and had it buy the entire month's worth of registrations because I was just having a cash flow issue. So I usually buy and pay every day.
Yep.
In this case, I let a month build up, then I hit go, and the robot bought 14,000. I posted it on Facebook, and CNET made a big article, and now this is something that's become a legacy. But it's kind of again, if you read the actual article, I'm saying it's really not that exciting, and it's just normal business. But
business as usual. Hey, Adam Dicker, in the same article that Kevin Murphy wrote, he noted that .net registrations are in decline. A little over 7,000 domain names under management in May were in decline. He made a great point that adding on the .net to a .com may have been a solid defensive registration strategy in the past. Go to registrar.com. Hey, do you want the .net for $5 more? But today, with all the new TLDs coming out, it doesn't necessarily work any longer. Is .net heading over a cliff, and will there be a large drop-off in registrations over the next year, do you think?
I mean, I don't really have a crystal ball, but I do think there are a lot more options. I mean, if I've got, for example, AdamDickersClub.com, I can go register AdamDickers.club. I mean, the problem is for .net is there's a lot more choices, whereas before it was .net.org.com and you covered your bases. Now it's not so easy, and people aren't going to register them all, so they're going to register the ones that are most applicable. So, I mean, I think they may suffer a decline, and they may actually have to do some marketing.
What's happening with your premium single-word .nets that you guys own in your portfolio? Are you going to see less inquiries? Are you going to lower the price?
Never got any inquiries. I can count them on this hand, really. I have one-word .nets. I can't remember when I ever had an inquiry on any of them. Maybe one, maybe two in almost 20 years. I still got them. I still renew them every year. But all you have to do is look at the resales, and they're 1% of the .com in value usually. I mean, it's negligible.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of drops right now. I see them. A lot of adults .net are dropping. I think these guys are just finally capitulating and throwing in the towel and realizing it ain't gonna happen. That train ain't coming in. And I'm not burying .net because I don't know. I've said before, I've always said .net is an orphan domain that has no place. On the other hand, when these companies go into the boardroom and they start discussing their options, I don't think you just throw .net out the window. I think it becomes a viable alternative when you have 1,400 other alternatives and about 1,200 of them are turkeys.
Yeah.
So,
Mike Mann, what do you think? What are you going to do with your .nets?
Yeah, well, I mean, Rick's right. I mean, first of all, I used to value .net at about 10% of a .com, but there's a couple issues here. .net used to have meaning. It used to mean you were running some sort of a network, and also there were only a few alternative TLDs to choose from. So, again, if I tried to register dick.com and I couldn't get dick.com, but I could get dick.net, that would have made sense at the time, and it would have been worth 10% of the com. Today, they would say, do you want dick.club, dick.web, dick.xyz, dick.tattoo, on and on and on. So again, it's just massively diluted, and again, I get very few inquiries. I probably have the world's best collection of one-word .nets, including afternick.net for that matter, and I get an unlimited number. I get a very limited number of inquiries and a much more limited number of actual net sales. I do still sell some of them, but again, they're declining in value. So that they're just another alternative TLD now. They used to be something special. It had meaning, and there were a few other alternatives. Now the meaning is diluted, and there's innumerable alternatives. So it's just another of the thousands of alt TLDs that are diluting one another.
So are you guys going to continue to pay registration renewal fees year after year, but you're not expecting any sales?
I mean, I'm eventually going to start paring back my collection, but it's a very difficult process. You have to reappraise hundreds of thousands of names, and the ones that I appraised at 0 get deleted.
Yeah. For me, I have a hard time, like, just clicking the delete button at the registrar to throw away a domain name. But if nobody ever contacts you, what value does it have?
It's a very difficult art, which is why the faint of heart shouldn't compete and lose their money.
That's true.
Yeah.
And we all have different skills for how we sort our portfolios.
Yeah.
But again, I think the alt TLDs is an even bigger issue, just because there's so many people betting so much money today on them, a huge amount of money, and some of it as the owner of the alt TLD and some of it as the speculators in the domains within there. So again, they're just going to look like the nets. Registration's going to come up, and the people are going to say, "What do I do now?"
Right.
There's no aftermarket right now either. I looked at the GTLD numbers because I'm a numbers guy, and I just these guys are talking millions. They're going to register millions and millions. Okay, so here's the real numbers. There's about 225 active general availability GTLDs out right now, from what I counted. 111 of them have less than 5,000 registrations each. 111. 50% of them are completely underwater at this point. Okay, and it isn't like they're getting a lot of registrations every day. Some of them are completely stalled. Mm-hmm. And I want to, I've been saying things about dying on the vine. Let me tell you, I think some of these GTLDs are going to be stillborn. Okay, literally stillborn, and I have examples here. I mean, the numbers are absolutely abysmal. I mean, only 44 have more than 10,000, and of those 44, I don't know how many the registrars and registries themselves have registered. So they're not even legitimate numbers. Okay, that isn't the worst of it. 32 of them have under 1,000. 32 have less than 1,000 registrations. Dozens have under 100. I mean, a few of them have under 100. I mean, and they've been out for weeks and months. They're going nowhere. They're dead. That's why I said consolidation is going to be the single biggest word in the next 3 years. Consolidation will be the big word.
All right, but let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater. There are 5 new TLDs that have launched this week. .scot, .place, .direct, .beer, and .surf. Anyone that watches the Domain Sherpa Review knows that I love to select surfing-related domain names for review on NameJet, as it's one of my aspirations. I really want to be a surfer one day. And I love a good microbrew, so I need to figure out what I'm going to buy in .surf and .beer. Mike Berkens, what new GTLDs did you buy this week?
How did I get to start this thing off?
I want to start with you because you're the only one that buys them.
We should just have a dedicated segment.
Want a mulligan? You want a mulligan?
What did Mike Berkens buy this week?
So, I mean, obviously, the winner of the week is .scot for Scottish folk, which I'm not one of, other than maybe Johnny Walker, which I guess I would get a UDRP or URS on, so I can't go there. So it's it's obviously it's not my play, but that's obviously the extension of the week. I don't get the .direct and I don't get .place.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much honestly, every week I'll register something and something. Even extensions that have gotten 500 registrations, I may have a few of them.
Did you register any .place or .direct?
None.
You didn't even get
yeah, I didn't. Yeah. I found nothing to register at all.
.beer, .surf, nothing.
.beer and .surf. There were definitely names that I tried to register and wanted to register, I mean, there's some naturals, obviously. I mean, we could just sit here between Rick and Adam and Mike, and there's obviously Draft.beer is awesome, and Craft.beer, and Keg.beer, and Kegs.beer, and
So there's a few hundred that might have value, and the rest won't.
But you looked at them all, and they were all taken by the registry, Mike, or what?
They're not available.
They're not available.
They're not available. So, I mean, I tried .beer and I tried .surf, and
and that's what I've tried in past weeks too. I'm like, I really like that top level domain, and then I go do my research and I spend half an hour and I come up with all the domains. Then I have to go to GoDaddy and put them in one by one because I can't put in like multiple domains to see if they're available, and which is a pain in the ass, GoDaddy, and none of them are available. Either they're on the registry reserve list or they're whatever. Mike, man, do you invest? Do you invest in any?
I actually had, I don't know, a few weeks ago, like the .beers, for example, I had actually gotten orders through. Now, if it did come back reserved, did come back as taken available, they said okay. I mean, they took the money and they took the reservation. So, but last night when I was checking again, most of them came back as not available. So. Yeah. I think the registries, I mean, it's a big, there's a lot of mess to this thing. And one of the messes is that the registries seem to be getting these reserved, restricted, premium price domains to the registrars very late in the process.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of blame to go around. But I had, some of the names I mentioned, I actually paid for and didn't get kicked out. And then the money got paid. Of course, it's going to get refunded. But
and the registrar kept it.
They took it. Yeah, they took the money because they probably didn't get their reserve list until maybe last week.
Yeah.
And when the reserve list came in,
the insiders could have been scamming the names that people were trying to buy.
Could have been. Don't know. I know what I got.
I personally, I just think this is a hobby, and because from an investment point of view, the same amount of money that Mike Berkens or whoever else is speculating on these alt TLDs, they could use that same money to research the best .coms that are for sale and the best prices, and purchase .coms that are almost certain to stand the test of time relative to the alts.
Yeah.
You're starting to sound like me, man. They're never going to invite you on the show again, just so you know.
Well, remember, Rick, I was at your conference a couple years ago on the stage with Donuts saying the exact same thing, and they were all going crazy at me.
Absolutely. Well,
I can't help my opinion. So I won't be mad if I'm wrong and people make millions and millions of dollars. I'm just giving my honest opinion.
Yeah, and Mike, man, have you registered any domains in the new TLDs?
Nope.
Not a single one?
Nope.
Wow. All right.
Again, it would be a cute hobby if I had extra time. I would do it, but again, the same money could be applied to .coms that I'm sure are underpriced, or I believe are underpriced. And again, it's just a matter of staying power. The .coms are certainly going to be tradable and usable and marketable in the future, and the other ones are all at risk.
Yeah.
And look, that's the point that I like that Mike's making. And if I ask Berkens in a few years, look, if you look back in 5 or 10 years and you took all the time and all the energy that you devoted in the GTLDs and you took it and you just did what you've been doing for the last 15 years, at the end of the day, which one is going to be more rewarding? I already think I know the answer, and obviously we'll find out in a few years. But, that's what it's about, because there is no aftermarket. See, the key is there is no aftermarket, and the people that can ill afford it the most are the ones investing, looking for the second coming, not knowing that, you can make hay when there's sun shining, but there's other ways to make hay. There's a tried and true way to buy a good domain name that's a .com and resell it quickly, because you know what has value. And that's what it's about. It's turning your money quickly.
I really, really hate to say Rick's right, but Rick's right.
Yeah, I think we've all been clear in a way that, and if we haven't been, then we'll reiterate that, new GTLDs. If you talk about throwing out $10 on the registration, okie dokie. But when you start talking about making, a serious investment and registering a lot of domains, I mean, you can only really do that if, with money that you can afford to lose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's been pretty clear.
Yep.
It's a gamble. It may pay off big. It may not pay off, but, you can't take your last $5,000 on Earth and buy new GTLDs and wait for them to sell.
But some people are. That's the problem.
That is the problem.
Some people do a lot of stuff. That's not our advice.
Well,
I mean, it's money. It's piss away. I mean, it's money that I can afford to lose, or Rick can afford to lose, or any of us on the panel can afford to lose. But if you don't have the money to lose, and you need those domains to turn into a sale in the next year before renewals come up, this game is not for you guys. Not right now.
All right, we're going to leave it at that. The hour went by fast. I usually give the Sherpas a chance to promote anything they have going on in their lives, any place they're going to be, where they might want to meet up. Let's start with you, Adam Dicker. Anything you want to promote?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
You're good this week.
I am.
All right, Mike Berkens, anything you want to promote?
Not really, but I'll tease something.
Please do.
Which may be something one day or maybe nothing. But anyway, so of course, thedomains.com, you can always go check out. And if this week you type in the.domains, you will see that will resolve as well. It's not going to thedomains.com. It's actually going to a mirror site so I want to first of all I want to thank the people at Donuts who basically gave me the name without going into legal rigmarole or any big fighting or any big anything. So they were very generous. They gave me the name. They thought it was the right thing to do.
Wow.
So there's thedomains.com and there's the.domains.
What's your renewal fee on the.domains?
A regular renewal fee, whatever a .domains is, $40 or so. I don't know offhand, but it's not premium renewal.
Yeah.
It was given to me. As a domain.
That's very nice.
So I'm going to thank them because they certainly didn't have to, and it was very nice, and I appreciate it. So when it was given to me, they expressed that they would like to not see it just forwarded to the .com, and they'd like to see it be something at some point. So I'm just letting people know that it's not being directed to thedomains.com. It's separate, although it's a mirrored site at the moment, and we'll see what happens down the lines. But I did want to publicly thank the Donuts guys for doing that.
All right, and you're going to need to either chat with Mike Mann's SEO group or ask Adam Dickard. Make sure you're not going to mess up your SEO by duplicating content if it is a true mirror site from your original. All right, Mike Mann, anything you want to promote?
I'd just like to point out that other than domain speculation, which is at domainmarket.com, I also started a company called phone.com. I help operate it. And phone.com is an awesome company delivering all sorts of newfangled apps and APIs and services. It's growing precipitously. It's a fabulous corporation. I also started a company and operate a company called SEO.com, which does SEO, PPC, and related type consulting for a lot of Fortune 500 and other companies. I run a charity called grassroots.org that's fabulous. I wrote a book, MakeMillions.com, which is downloadable for free, and everything I do can be found at MikeMann.com.
Awesome. And I gave you a plug for every single one of those at the start of the show. So didn't I nail it, guys? Bam. All right. Rick Schwartz, anything you want to promote?
Yeah, I was going to promise something last week. So if you're kind of on the fence for traffic and you're not sure or you haven't been to one, okay, so if you email me at domainking@gmail, what I'll do for you, we had a seminar with Howard Lefkowitz in Las Vegas from Vegas.com, and he was just a terrific speaker. I mean, let me tell you, he was worth the price of admission. So if you listen to a guy like that for 90 minutes and you can't make your money back to come to traffic, then you're in the wrong business. So all I'm going to tell you, if you email me, I will send you the link and the password to watch his 90-minute presentation, and all I can say is it's priceless.
All right, email domainking@gmail.com. Ask
That's
for
it.
the Howard Lefkowitz, not the Howard New presentation.
The Howard Lefkowitz from Vegas.com, not LasVegas.com and not Vegas.Vegas.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to give a quick plug from Monday's Domain Sherpa interview. 2 years ago, I interviewed Richard Kershaw about his success that he had at wish.co.uk, sailing day trips and experience days, like fighting zombies and driving sports cars and things like that, where we're going to catch up with him, find out if his business has grown from the $1 million per year that he was making. And we're also going to learn about his digital.com purchase. Remember that sale price, Mike Berkens? $373,000 that he just paid to buy digital.com. We're going to find out what he's doing with it. Coming up on Monday, sign up for the newsletter on the right-hand side of this page. Go post any questions you have for the Sherpas down below this video on DomainSherpa.com. Sorry we ran out of time to answer questions today. Adam Dicker, Michael Berkens, Mike Mann, and Rick Schwartz, thanks for coming on the Domain Sherpa discussion, sharing your insights and expertise, and thanks for leading others to reach their peak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks
a lot. Appreciate it.
We'll see you next time.
That was fun.